Joe Biden tweeted about a certain company and sent its share price soaring by over 50% at the open. It closed the day up over 40%. To make this decision, he had to authorize the Defense Production Act. And this decision had implications for the broader US supply chains. You might be wondering, who is this company? What is the Defense Production Act? And ultimately, what does the infant formula market have to do with all of this? Today, we're going to discuss and unpack all of these questions, so welcome.
Sit back and enjoy.
And so to start off this story, it makes sense for us to take that step back and have a think about the current state of the infant formula market before discussing the company in question. So the infant formula market, like many markets and supply chains around the world, has been struggling with supply chain difficulties. We know that logistics have been a difficulty since 2020 with the virus, the lockdowns, and the mobility restrictions. However, the baby formula shortage worsened over the past few weeks and months, and this was exacerbated by the shutdown of a facility owned by Abbott. To give you an insight about just how strained these supply chains are, for the week ending May 22, the out-of-stock rate for baby formula rose to 70% nationwide domestically in the US. This is significant. Just the week before that, it was around 45%, and just a few weeks before that, it was at 30%. And this has all been exacerbated by the baby formula maker Abbott having to shut down its Michigan facility. To give you context, Abbott is a major producer of infant formula, and we'll talk about how major later on in this video. But they had to shut down one of their largest domestic factory because of some detection of potential bacteria. This is a rare but dangerous bacteria, and they have been under investigation now by the regulators for safety concerns. Even though they've reached an agreement, it looks like they'll be restarting the factory on June the 4th. It will be well over a month before any new product is ready to be shipped, and then of course it has to be shipped and then find its way onto storefronts. So it could take up to 6 to 8 weeks before formula begins arriving. And this is in a market that's already been struggling with shortages of formula. To give you that context, 4 manufacturers, including Abbott, but along with Mead Johnson Nutrition, Nestle, and Perrigo, control 90% of the domestic infant formula market in the US. But Abbott alone had a 40% market share in the US before the recall. So they are nearly 50% or nearly half of total manufacturing for baby formula. And its Michigan facility, the one that shut down, made up 40% of its total US formula production. So this is a big chunk of formula to take out of the market, and one that's already been currently strained. So as a result of that, President Biden invoked the Defense Production Act. And you might be wondering, what is the Defense Production Act? It is a Cold War era law that gives the president significant emergency authority to control domestic industries. We've previously seen it invoked for things like vaccines and the virus throughout 2020 and 2021. Joe Biden recently invoked it for critical materials surrounding the electric vehicle batteries, including lithium, nickel, cobalt, graphite. If you are wondering more about the Defense Production Act and when Biden recently invoked it for these critical minerals, we'll leave a link up above that you can check out after this one because we did a deep dive video into that. But in terms of the origins, it was at the start of the Korean War. Franklin Roosevelt invoked it. It gave him the initial set. Of course, these have been refined over the years, a broad set of powers, including the ability to set wages and prices, as well as to ration consumer goods. And the current state of the law gives the executive branch substantial powers. It allows the president to direct private companies to prioritize orders from the federal government. And this is to empower allocation of materials, services, and facilities, ultimately for the national defense purposes, and it's used at critical times of crisis or when there is a significant need. And so this flows through to President Biden recently tweeting, he's got more good news. 27.5 million bottles of safe infant formula manufactured by Bubs Australia, that's ASXBUB, is the Australian company, are coming to the United States. They're doing everything in their power to get more formula on shelves as soon as possible. Of course, this shortage is a concern, not only because it will drive up prices when there's lower supply, and if demand stays equal or increases, obviously prices will rise, economics 101. But there is a significant shortage at the moment, and parents are just struggling to be able to feed their babies. So it's a major concern, and so they're hoping that this goes some way to alleviating those concerns. We can see here the announcement that came out. The FDA exercised discretion for the immediate import, sale, and distribution of all 6 Bubs infant formula products into the United States. They're working with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services to work out the best way to get this logistically sorted. It's for 1.25 million tins. Each tin makes up 22 bottles, so that gives you the equivalent of 27.5 million bottles. And we can see here some insights about how Bubs actually came to this. In terms of the next steps for logistics, 500,000 tins ready for immediate export, and then the balance of those will be planned to get into the US in the coming months. What was quite interesting as well here is Bubs are manufactured in Bubs' own FDA-registered production facility, so that's a tick. You don't need any additional approvals, but they're capable of tripling their current 10 million tin annual capacity, which gives an insight that they could get up to potentially 30 million tins, which obviously is significant. There were some discussions about what this could mean for existing retailers. Of course, if there's a supply chain on one side, is it just taking out supply and then going to cause a shortage in another region? But Bubs have stated that supply to existing Australian retailers and export markets will remain unchanged because they have the ability to scale up and they've got strong control of their own vertically integrated supply chain. What was worth noting as well is that Bubs actually, over the past 12, 18, 24 months, have been establishing their US footprint. And so this has quite organically enabled them to be in a good position now at this right place at the right time. And we can see this here. It was a result of 18 months of preparation and investment into their USA market expansion strategy. And now they're able to meet these standards and they're able to deliver this product into the market. In terms of reaction, a significant run up. It opened as high up or got as high as above the 80 cent mark. Its last close was below the 50 cent mark. Closed the day at 40% up, but it was a significant uplift. Of course, we can see here it gapped up at the open. It actually did moderate from the session highs early on and fell back down. On the year to date, it helps Bubs get into the green quite significantly. But we do know that over the past period, Bubs, along with other companies like A2 Milk, ASX, A2M, have struggled due to a range of different supply chain bottlenecks and changes in terms of consumer demands, particularly for some of their export markets. So we can see here Bubs is above that key 50 cent line, which has been a key level in terms of both support and resistance on the way up and down. It's going to be fascinating to see what this means for the ASX BUB story from here. It is an interesting time. I'd love to know your thoughts, so drop in a comment below. Welcome to the channel. This is our first video. This is going to become a hub of information. We're going to have market updates, CEO interview snippets, regular live streams. So if you're new here, make sure you've subscribed, turn your bell notifications on. There'll be plenty of videos coming at you regularly throughout the week. So thank you for joining us. For now, stay well and happy investing.